Good afternoon, everyone. Looking forward to a great webinar today. This is Chris Weiser, MSP Channel Chief from Artisan Infrastructure. We got a pretty full house today, so I'm pretty excited about this webinar. And this is kind of webinar number 2 in our Channel Academy series. But with my joining the team here, it's been pretty. One of the things that I really learned over 10 years of building my managed service provider in Milwaukee. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Something that I would like.
Hold on one second. Can you mute?
Hold on one second.
I don't know what happened. Your mic is picking up.
Your mic is picking up. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Keep in mind, as we go today, feel free to put any questions in the chat box. Zach is sitting here with me. He will answer questions as we fly. I know last webinar we had about 5 really good questions. So feel free to bring them up and let's fire away. I have about 30 minutes or so of content for today, kind of depending on Q&A and kind of how we go. But for sure, I'll keep you under an hour at the very least. And then we have a couple other things to talk about with the next couple webinars and the Channel Academy as we move forward. So you hear one of the things that I've mentioned in our marketing materials, which is the whole word sticky. And it's kind of a buzzword in today's managed service provider industry, or even in industry as a whole. And when we talk about selling sticky, it's the ability to keep your client under you as a managed service provider and to keep them running your materials and your services, and it makes it difficult for them to leave. Obviously, and keep in mind, we don't want to just say, oh, we don't want our clients to leave, because with good service and value, they should stay. But part of the problem in today's commoditized technology marketplace is lowest common denominator becomes price. And the price is pretty important in terms of making sure that you can battle against it and staying away from it. So building value and building in your sticky is really critical. So some of the things that we're going to cover today, the types of products and position you need to sell sticky, the importance of driving customer loyalty through your very own product suite. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to show some things on those first 2 items from my MSP. My MSP was in Milwaukee, and it was called TechSquad IT. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to look at the, kind of as we go through, in fact, I have a sample client presentation, and I have a sample client actual quote that we're going to go over one-on-one, and you'll see the difference in terms of what I was offering in terms of client sticky, and then also how to position your cloud services in the market for long-term customer retention. So all those things are critical. And remember, keep questions flying as we go here. Oh, that's already. Okay, so it's important to build your MSP price model so you eliminate that lowest common denominator. How are you selling? Are you working on selling in your company on specifically line item pricing? And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a potential partner this morning, and they were talking about, okay, let's talk about IaaS. Let's talk about infrastructure as a server or as a service. How are we actually selling this? And he was looking at it as, okay, I want to be able to compare RAM and CPU and storage, and I want to sell up directly against Amazon, or I want to sell directly against Azure. And what that's going to do is it's going to move you completely to the lowest common denominator mode. So as long as your client is seeing price as what you're highlighting as your benefit, that's all they're going to sell you on. That's all they're going to judge you on. That's all they're going to say, hey, what's our value with staying with so-and-so? And when it's price, you're already losing. You're already, especially with the commoditized world that we're in now, because they can go out and get free Dropbox. They can go out and get all kinds of free Amazon. They can get free all kinds of different things. What's the Microsoft one? OneDrive, right? They can get free OneDrive. They can get all these different things. So it's really important to sell on value and not on price. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through a sample client proposal. And let me just get sat down here. So we're going to go through a sample client proposal, and I'm going to bring this up, and let's take a look at this. So here's a good example of one of my TechSquad ones. And I took some of the branding out of it, but this was a real live one for about a year ago today. You can actually see this was February 16th, 2015. And for anybody that wants this on today's webinar, feel free to put some notes in the thing to Zach, and we'll send this out to you. I'm not going to go through a lot of these things, but this is just some of the basic stuff that we had. And this is a real live functional product piece. So you can see here that we're continually building value as we go through this. I'm not going to go through a lot of it because I'm going to give it to you guys so you can look at it. But one of the things I want to focus on is as we get through here, showing all of our stuff. You see this product stack. So we have all this stuff that we're offering, and we're turning it into this kind of a price model. So this client was actually initially quoted on a physical on-prem environment. And I want you to look at some of this really, really closely and look at some of the specific things of selling on sticky and how everything, and if you look actually, if I'm going to scroll up one more time, I want you to see if I look here, you'll see nothing is labeled. Now I'm offering antivirus. Do you see a name there? Nope. I'm offering spam. Do you see a name there? Nope. I'm offering spyware. No name. I'm offering backup. I'm offering a firewall. In fact, I think I do say a specific firewall name. That's the only thing I probably say. We had Sophos in here as our firewall, but these are the things that we're going to actually provide for them. And and this was a 43 user network. At no point did I talk about, oh, we're going to offer Office 365, or we're going to offer these specific services. And where I'm pricing this out is we have everything in a per seat model or a mass environment model. So we're including everything on a single flat rate price, and I'm not even necessarily saying per seat, and nowhere on here do you say per seat or do you see per seat on here. You can see that we have TechSquad IT monthly support, and that's Total Care. That was actually a typo in there with the MS monthly support because it was actually supposed to be TC or Total Care monthly support. And we included that for a flat rate bulk deal of $81.95 a month. And this client ended up being a Artisan sale client. They originally were an on-prem sale client to where they had, I think, 4 servers internally. One of them was a Linux email server. Actually, I think it was a Unix email server if I remember right, so it was pretty old. But they were completely related to, they wanted to go on-prem, so we were pricing on-prem as we went onto this. And then because of the model, we actually brought them into our office, showed them everything we're talking about here, and kept everything related to pricing it on a flat rate monthly model. And we ended up pitching them cloud at the same time, and they ended up signing with us on a cloud deal, which turned out to be really, really solid for them and added about $1,400 a month to this deal. So one of the things I'm really focusing on, especially with the sticky piece, and I'll talk a little bit about the client retention, is two major pieces here. Number one, see, I named everything TechSquad IT, and then I put everything on a flat monthly rate with no mention of how many users they have. And you'll see that how much I'm building value in my actual client presentation on the next piece that I go over here. And then we give them the ability, like I actually added this and added this. I actually added the one-time setup. I just literally made that up. I'm going to make up something that I can waive. And then we had labor involved. So I'm going to say, okay, for a 36-month agreement, and for signing by the specific date, I'm going to give you free onboarding labor and setup if you sign by 5 p.m. on 2/17. 36-month agreement, initial payment of $21,000. So we're enabled to say we're not selling any specific product. We're selling a TechSquad brand, period. We're selling an MSP name brand, and we're selling this for a 36-month deal. And we're going to waive some stuff, and we're going to get them to sign right away. And the reason I try and get them to sign right away is, well, obviously we know why we want them to sign right away, but I'd rather have a no than a 6-month maybe. That's really, really important for me. And so I'm going to kind of move back and show the presentation that we have here. And here's a good example of what one of our client-facing presentations look like. And you're going to see everything we have in here is, again, TechSquad everything. Nothing named related to any type of other services. I think we do have Sophos, but and there's a couple other names in there because we throw them in there for sale pieces. But in relating to our normal services, we're trying to stay as sticky as possible. So we're talking about all these things, and you'll see that the value that we're building makes price the lowest common denominator. So our all bases covered, we're talking about giving them all these different things. We included help desk support, we included on-site support, parts replacement, all these different pieces. Here's our managed services slide. We give the managed services, again, nothing named other vendors. We did hassle-free vendor management, all these different pieces here. And again, this is a PowerPoint, so I can give you guys this, so please feel free to mention to Zach that you want this if you want it. Professional services, so we included technology consulting, all the project management, lab testing, quarterly technology business reviews, rental equipment, training facilities, security management. Notice again, no client names, no product names. I chose my products that I wanted to put in here. So we actually used multiple different hosted exchange products. We used our own voice product. Everything came back through TechSquad, and we kept it super, super sticky. Now, I think we did have Office 365 in these guys' deal, but that would be run through us only. Now, the problem, I'm not a big fan of Office 365 and the managed service provider, because what does it take for a client to change off of Office 365? Because all they have to do is change the dealer of record. So they can easily leave, and they can easily go to someone else instantly. I preferred either a VAR Dynamics or a Intermedia. There's multiple different vendors out there that will allow you to have your own branded Office 365. We partner with both of those, and I would highly recommend that. So we were pushing everybody, unless they, and you can actually see in the client proposal that I had, that we offered Office 360, or we offered hosted exchange, and unless they specifically wanted Office 365, we went straight towards hosted exchange with our vendor, which my TechSquad vendor was VAR Dynamics. So it was really a beneficial deal. Spam control, we picked ours. Email archiving, we picked ours. Email continuity, we picked ours. All those pieces, we picked our stuff, and we give them a solution. Our BDR scenario, again, nothing branded anybody else but TechSquad. TechSquad, 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 across the board. Your critical PC data, this was for backing up PCs. Your BYOD, this was for deals. So you see, again, it's the only place that you actually see a couple other names, because we didn't necessarily offer anything like that, but we were a Dropbox for Business dealer. And I did like Sooner, because Sooner was channel only, so that was something I did like about Sooner, and they're also fully compliant, so there was a benefit I had there. We offered our own business class phone through TechSquad Voice. This was our own stuff. It came directly through us. So again, you're seeing a repeated theme over and over and over here of this is our client-facing stuff. Absolutely every single piece of what we're doing is geared towards branded TechSquad and branded my MSP, because I don't want them to leave, right? So, okay, we had a question from in the field here. Zach, am I good to do this now? Yeah? Okay. Ryan asked, what are your thoughts about having a calculator available on my company website for potential clients interested in our cloud offering? I think you run a real risk by doing that, because, I mean, it's a good idea, but the problem you're going to run into is potentially that you're not going to have a chance to talk with them about it, and when you're almost self-commoditizing at that point, because you're actually saying, now if you had now maybe an ROI calculator, I think would be feasible, but I'm not a big fan of an actual cost calculator, because you're just immediately going to your MSP client and saying, okay, here, take me and value me based on my cost, which is not necessarily what you want to do. You want to say value. So if you could do some type of an ROI calculator using MSP name cloud, like mine, MKE cloud, I think I had here's actually was my product stack. I'll come back to this as we go, but here's a good example of what my product stack looked like. So I had TechSquad IT Total Care, TechSquad IT MKE Cloud, TechSquad IT Data Vault, TechSquad IT Voice, TechSquad IT Total Control Security. So you kind of see my point, as I said in there. These are all things that I think I would do versus necessarily going directly to giving them the opportunity to put you on that lowest common denominator again. You don't want to be McDonald's. You want to be, in fact, I always, we had a lot of people that came to my MSP and said, well, so-and-so is cheaper. Hey, that's okay. We're better. I never said I'd be cheaper. I said I'd be the best. In fact, that's what I say to them. I never said that I'd be cheaper. I said I'd be the best. So if there's ever a price point question, that's usually how I answered the price point question. And one of the ways that you really can get away from that is, and in fact, by making price, actually, let me back up. By building your stack with all these things, and realize that when we bring our clients in, or when TechSquad brought our clients in, we'd sit them down and we'd start out with this on the screen. And all we would talk about was, we wouldn't even talk about price until we got all the way through this huge stack. And realize all this is included. So I'm not saying here's line item, line item, line item for all this stuff. I'm saying everything that we're offering for you is included. And if you go back to, so if you start with this and then go through everything I have here, and then you go back to the client proposal, which actually we bring up second, and you say, okay, client, now we're through everything here. Remember everything that we showed you earlier here. Look at how good of a value that we're giving you. Sorry, my computer is slow on GoToMeeting here. Look at everything that we're giving you for all this price. And MSP CFO in the room, and you guys that are on sales who are on this call today for the most part, you guys that are in sales should be having your CFO or your CTO or your CEO, whoever your decision maker is at your client, should be sitting in that room. You should have everything branded, and you should have everything out to where you're looking at it, and it's an hourly price. The real value here is by saying, okay, CFO, you may not get this. You're seeing all the stuff my MSP is offering. We're giving you all this value. We're giving all these things, and we're giving it to you for $46.56 per hour. Well, every CFO in every company knows what his employees make per hour, period. He knows what they cost. That's language they can speak. So, okay, Zach, we got any other questions? No? Okay. So we're going to keep going here. All right. So I kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent with that, which I oftentimes do. But something I want you to realize that you need to really work on crafting your offering with retaining your client. You saw in my actual client-facing proposal, not the presentation, not the PowerPoint, but the actual Word doc proposal, that everything that we sold was geared towards a 36-month agreement. And realize I say agreement versus contract. I think that's, and there's a couple other salespeople or sales trainers that talk about agreement versus contract. I was a big believer in that as well. And really work on having long-term agreements. Hey, if they want to get out, we'll let you out. But our whole goal, client, is to give you the ability to lock in your pricing long-term. That's why we're giving this to you. We're going to give you all this value, and we're going to allow you to lock in your pricing long-term. So that's how I sold it, and it worked really, really well. Make sure that you look at your partners that you're working with in your product suite. I brought up Office 365 earlier. I worked with them. I worked with RingCentral. But you have to be very, very careful about them because your clients can leave you for them in a matter of seconds. And any client vendor or any MSP vendor that is giving you commission for keeping the client is one you need to steer free from. You need to stay away from them because ultimately they own that relationship and they own the deal. And I think a couple that come to mind, and I don't want to throw too many names out here, but Office 365 is a good example. The dealer of record piece, they can change at the drop of a hat. RingCentral is a good example. They pay commission to the MSP vendor. Well, what the hell good is that? There's not a whole lot of good there for you. Yeah, you get 5% on a contract per month. I want to control that deal. That's one of the deals that Artisan is so great about, is that we bill you 100%, and you can give it to your clients for free. Obviously, we don't want you to do that because we want you to make money, but you could give it to your clients free, and we don't know any different. So make sure you're looking at that. Dell's a good example. If any of us buy from Dell, which my MSP used to on occasion because we'd have clients demand it, but one of the things they made us do, give us your end user customer name. Every damn time they would say, give us your end user customer name. And I would just say, well, we're buying this internally. This is our 50th computer this month. I go, oh, I need a lot of computers. That's all I would say. And it's really, really important that you look at your partners and realize whether they sell to you or is their goal to sell to your end user client. And Microsoft often right now makes me suspect them because what have they always done to the MSP channel or even the partner channel? What have they done to us natively? They've usually, for lack of a better word, screwed us in the long run. So just be careful and be wary of what you're doing, and partner with partners, that's good English. Partner with vendors that are channel specific and channel friendly, and that's one of the big reasons that I like Sophos, and that's why I like Artisan, and that's why I liked Reflection, which is now Sophos. I mean, those are all reasons why I like that, because they'd only sell to the channel. And do not actively sell something if they can easily leave. You heard me say that before. You saw me earlier, and I'm going to come back to my next slide here. Brand everything with your name this or your name that. So build your product stack with everything you have here. Really focusing on MSP name. I don't care what you call it. It doesn't matter. Just be consistent. And don't call it, oh, hey, we're going to sell you Office 365. It's great that you want to do it. And I actually got in an argument with an MSP a couple weeks ago. It wasn't an argument per se, but the gentleman was working with us, and we're working on a sales scenario, and he had his head engineer on the line, and she said, well, I love Office 365. It's so easy. It works so well, and the clients love it. But it's also $3 a seat or $5 a seat or whatever. And I asked the CEO after we got off the call, and I said, would you rather have a relationship that takes your per seat price for spam and hosted exchange and puts it down to $3, a number that they know and that they can buy on their own and they can commoditize, or would you like to build value into a complete stack and charge them $200 a month per seat? And he's like, well, that's a no-brainer. I said, well, then you got to start thinking about the way that you're packaging your stuff and not letting your techs do it. You got to do it for business and sales versus doing it strictly based on how easy your techs can install it. And I think that kind of rang true, and it's something that I really want you guys to think about, especially as we're moving forward here. So further things, build all of your products with long-term client retention in mind. 24-month, 36-month, 48-month agreements. And you saw on my deal that I would, in fact, I'm going to bring that up one more time. Use that term length as a way to close deals with discounts. Oh, whoops. So let's look at that term length again. So again, this is a 36-month agreement. We're closing this deal in a time frame. Now, obviously, we could change this if we wanted to. Again, 36-month agreement. Look what I'm actually getting up front on this deal. If they don't make this time frame and realize they actually signed as a client. They did not make the time frame. Now, we ended up changing some of their stuff, so I did give them a little bit of a break on that. But look at the bottom of my small print here. It's a 36-month agreement. They're going to pay first month and last month of this agreement plus the one-time setup fee and the onboarding implementation project labor. Now, if you wanted to say, hey, you get started out with a 24-month deal if you want, I personally would never go lower than a 24-month because you want to be able to guarantee and value your company long-term and keep that client. And you think about what you're doing, you're locking that client into all of your solutions for 24 months, 36 months, 48 months. I actually had a 10-year deal that I signed before I sold my MSP, which there's a lot to be said for a 10-year deal. 10 years of guaranteed revenue, and that was I think it was about a $7,000 a month deal if I remember right. So I basically guaranteed myself 120 months of revenue into my company, which I can actually, that's value. I get credit. I can borrow money against that. I can do all kinds of things when I have that. So look at how I'm doing this. Think about where we are with everything on the top, and then you can actually use the 24 months, start out with there. I often started out at 36 months, and then I would waive something to either get them to sign up quickly, or I would waive something to get them to stay a longer term. So we'll keep that in mind. I think we got another question coming up here. Kevin asked, Chris, did you usually include cloud infrastructure on a separate proposal or part of the overall solution? I would always bundle everything in on the same solution because ultimately the clients just want a solution. Now, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, obviously, but what I will say is I always included it as the same one. And in fact, I was kind of tweaking this one today so you can actually see. This one here had a MKE cloud environment with 50 client licenses, server support and management. This is exactly how I would word it, and I honestly wouldn't change the pricing much. Maybe make it, depending on the scenario, but my pricing was very similar across the board, whether it was on-prem or if it was cloud. And my goal was to get around $200 to $250 a month per seat per month. Now, I wouldn't necessarily tell them that, but that's how I'd use my calculator internally. So if you start thinking about it, if I scroll up here, let's just look. Now, depending on the scenario and depending where we are, meaning with the relationship with the client and other things, you can see what different numbers are at. So if I take $81.95 here, and I ended up selling this client for just about I think it was $9,600, and I'm going to divide that by 43 users. That's what I actually got per seat here. That was the on-prem model. Now, I actually upped it to doing cloud. So it was actually, I think it was $96.95, or I know it was $95.95. That's what it was. I remember that now. $95.95 divided by the same 43 users. So I had upped it by making some changes and moving them to cloud, and I was getting $223.14 per user per month on average. Now, I started out at around 200 or 225, and I calculated and made sure that I got my numbers in there from that. And if any of you want to talk about that a little bit further, feel free to put some numbers in with Zach, or a message in with Zach, and I'll reach out to you after the webinar, and we can talk a little bit about that. That's some of the things that we bring to the table as Artisan Infrastructure for our partners here. So it gives you the ability to charge your clients a solid amount of money and a good amount per seat. And something that I would do after this is I would say, and then obviously they can do math. They're not dumb. They know how much they're paying per seat. So they could say, okay, $81.95 divided by 43 or $95.95 divided by 43 is this. And then we would say in our actual agreement, our long agreement for our clients, our master services agreement, we would actually say, if you want to add new users, it's $250 a month per user per month moving forward. So they saw that on the bundle, they got a good deal. It sounds like a lot like Time Warner Cable and AT&T. You got the bundle, or I think who's doing that too, the price match? Is that Geico? She's bundling everything, right? Yeah. So she's the bundle bee. Yeah. Zach's shaking his head at me. So Kevin, hopefully that answers your question. I think for the most part, that gets us right to the bottom of the hour. I'm about done, but a couple of things I want to just focus on, just to kind of finalize. In fact, I'm going to go back to my first slide really here to talk about. So things we went over today, the types of products and positioning you need to sell sticky in the cloud. You really want to make sure you focus on your vendors. Look at who you're working with. Are they channel focused? Are they providing the best value to you as an MSP? Do they have your best interest in mind when they're selling to you as an MSP? Office 365, Dell, RingCentral, those are the three examples I use. All of them either make it easy for the client to move, or ultimately, and I think with Office 365, what Microsoft's ultimate goal is to get the client. They're to own the relationship. And Dell, I know Dell's the same way, and RingCentral obviously owns that relationship from day one, and I know there's other vendors out there like that. So keep that in mind. Drive your customer loyalty through your own product suite. White label everything you can. My clients had no idea that I was an Artisan Infrastructure partner. No idea. They had zero clue. As far as they were concerned, it was MKE Cloud and I owned everything. Now that couldn't have been, honestly, in the Artisan world, it couldn't have been further from the truth, but that's great. That's why I was here as a partner, because I was able to buy everything with a pay-as-I-grow model and have no CapEx. The client had no CapEx because I didn't require it. And I was able to deliver everything by white labeling and branding my own product suite. Back to that TechSquad IT everything stack. And then make sure you position your cloud services and all your services. Put everything together. Don't separate it, because when you separate it, all you're doing is giving your client options to price line item you, or line item price you, or however you want to call it. So they give you multiple ways to do that. So price that stuff for long-term retention with your 26, 36, 48-month agreements. Use your term length as a way to close deals. Use it as leverage. Think about when you go into a car dealership and they're negotiating with you for a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease or a 3-year car loan or a 5-year. They're throwing things in to get you to sign longer term deals because they get more money out of it. It's the way things go. So offer your 36 months at X amount with onboarding, or offer 48 months at Y amount with free onboarding, or free something. Throw in a flat screen TV. Who cares? I mean, when you're throwing stuff in, the goal is to make the person signing the contract feel like they got something really good for what they did. You want them to feel like they're getting a phenomenal deal, and you still need to make money. That's half the battle here. So, Zach, we got any more questions? That wraps it up. Okay, great. Anybody's got any more questions, feel free to throw it in there. I just wanted to throw a couple things out there real quick before we wrap up for the day. We do have an actual members-only group that's going to be for Artisan Infrastructure partners. We actually will probably have that available to non-partners as well. I have to talk to Brian, the CEO, and see kind of what we think about that. I was thinking about it earlier. But we're going to give you options for training on how to sell cloud services, how to market to cloud prospects, done for you website templates, done for you marketing materials, and then weekly sales and marketing Q&A calls. You can obviously view this webinar along with our previous ones at the web address on the bottom, artisaninfrastructure.com/channel-academy. And then we got a couple webinars coming up here. January 21st, I can't believe it's 2016 already. I just turned 39, I'm getting old. Building your desktops as a service practice with Artisan Elastic Private Cloud. This is something that was core to me and core to my managed service provider growing. We were able to build multi-tenant environments to allow our MSP to not only service cloud with the small guys, but service cloud with the big guys. So we went into the big guys that were 20 users and larger and gave them their own private desktops as a service environment. But then what do you do for a 3 and 4 and 5 user network that wants cloud? They're the ones that need it the most in reality, and they're the ones that are limited the most because of cost. So we were able to do that. So we're going to talk a lot about the DaaS practice and how to build that with Artisan Elastic Private Cloud on January 21st. Right after that, I got a week break in the Bahamas, or actually in the West Indies, so that'll be nice. And then I come back to how to lose your MSP in 24 months or less. So that'll be a very interesting webinar. That's going to focus a little bit on the sticky stuff, a little bit on the how to choose the right partner, but again, how to lose your MSP in 24 months or less. So really appreciate everybody's time today. I know we're a little bit early. Actually, we're right on time in terms of the hour, bottom of the hour right now. So appreciate everybody again today. This is Chris Weiser, MSP Channel Chief from Artisan Infrastructure. Don't forget to visit us, artisaninfrastructure.com/channel-academy, and have a great week.